Welcome to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple. We are your hosts, Lauren and Dana. So today, Lauren, you and I are chatting all things personalised wedding vows, and I'm excited because you know so much more information about this than what I do, being a celebrant. So it's kind of almost like I'm interviewing you, even though you're like hosting. So you come here, you're going to host, and you're also going to answer your own questions.
Love it. It's a very multitasking situation today,
Yes, it is.
but that's great. Well, you get to hear and see all the beautiful wedding vows, the personalised wedding vows as the end result. And I guess I'm lucky to be part of the process leading up to that. So it's a good combo, both of us. We probably have a few questions for each other. Yeah.
I feel like I really like phase out during the vows. Not like overly, just I know that's so bad. I think like when you're like you've got your working hat on, you don't want to get like teary or things like that. So you don't want to hear like the vows all the time, but I don't know, like we went to a friend's wedding recently and I made sure that I actually listened to their vows because I really wanted to be present as well as taking their photos, but I could not tell you for the life of me what their vows were.
Do you know what though? That is so common. The thing with a wedding is whether it's the ceremony, the vows, well, the couple, that is so important to them. They're saying it to each other.
Yeah.
They are going to remember what they're saying. They're going to remember those words. Maybe the celebrant would, maybe some of the wedding party would.
Yeah.
The guests will never remember those words, but they will remember that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think you're kind of being brave. You're sharing your feelings about the person you love the most with all the people who are special to you. And it's about conveying that emotion, I think. To the couple, the exact words matter so much, but I'm not surprised to hear you say that. It's not something that you can remember word for sure.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about personalised vows, I feel like I don't get stressed because I'm already married, but I feel stressed for couples because like what a scary task it must be to like think about.
So freaked out about number one, writing vows and number two, having to say them out loud in front of people. Yeah. It's quite a normal thing that I hear in my meetings or from my couples. Absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds like though they might not need to freak out as much because you've got some great tips, which is awesome. And then if they've got you or somebody that you know that you would recommend as a celebrant, celebrants normally help out with these things, don't they?
They do. And that's the thing, I think. It's kind of such a big question. How do I start my vows? There's lots of questions which I'm sure we have for each other today, but a great first point of contact would be your celebrant.
Yeah.
Whoever that may be, they will have some knowledge about vows to help, whether it's just from experience or whether they actually have, which a lot of us have, a package of documents or questions that they could give their couple. You know, I know lots of celebrants that I'm lucky enough to work with in South Australia have a package that would include a guiding questionnaire on how to write your vows from scratch, or even for someone who that's feeling like an overwhelming task, here is a few paragraphs that are giving you the bones of vows.
Like a structure.
Fill them in like a structure, but nothing too
like you don't have to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's almost like here's a guide. So, you know, in one hand it might be answer these questions and put it together yourself. I'm talking about something that's a more firm guide, but not word for word that you can answer, slot in words here and there, personalised to the person you love. That way you've written the vows yourself. You've given it a lot of thought, but structuring it wasn't something you had to do yourself.
Yeah.
So, I guess a structure is probably the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
And I think celebrants will often have a lot of those resources. I've seen really great blog posts or articles on Facebook. Where should I start with writing my vows? And it might just be, you know, a writer that's done that, that's had their own wedding and giving some tips, or those even just jumping on Google, not the whole Google, what should I say in my wedding vows and copy a paragraph, more like getting guidance from there. I think that could be really helpful to couples as well. But definitely your celebrant, or if you're having a religious ceremony, you can talk to the person who's delivering that ceremony for you. Whoever's helping with your ceremony is a great place to start asking about that.
So what's something that should be included in personalised vows?
I think with personalised vows, that's the very thing, they are personalised. So for different couples, very different things would be included. I don't think you can have a one size fits all. However, a few things you could do to help about what should be included is if you and your partner want to write vows that are going to be a surprise to each other on the day, I know you don't want to discuss content, but you could sit down together and talk about, okay, how long are these going to be? You know, some couples don't mind at all. They're happy to go with the flow. Other couples don't like the idea that one person might say 3 lines and one person might say 3 pages. So that would a little bit help on what's included, because when you have that length, it would give you a bit of a guide on how much to say. Other couples will go to the point of deciding on an actual structure for their vows. For example, they'll say, and maybe they'll work with their celebrant on this, maybe they'll hear it from friends, they'll see something on TV, they're like, okay, let's talk about what we thought of each other when we first met, a couple of things we love about each other, something that makes us laugh, and then make a couple of promises. I'm not saying that's a specific structure that needs to be used. I'm saying that's what a couple might discuss. Then they go away and write that. So on the day, it's a complete surprise, the content. However, they've written to that structure. I do also have couples who sit down and write their vows together.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Which is really gorgeous. You know, and they might sit down and write one set of vows that they use, they both say the same thing. And because I am a celebrant, of course, I have lots of things to add to this. But I think as a photographer, like you're saying, you're there, you're not trying to focus too much on the vows because you're focusing on your craft. But there are some couples who don't write personalised vows, which is totally okay. Have you noticed anything you might have heard or things couples have told you about how they might choose pre-written vows?
Yeah, so I think I've definitely noticed when the vows are a lot shorter. So they might just be like there's no cards that come out. They just kind of repeat after the celebrant, or they might have memorized it, or they might be working off a template that the celebrant has given them as well. Like there's, for richer, for poorer, and better and worse, those kind of things.
Yes, something more traditional and structured, maybe a template, from the celebrant.
So definitely notice when it's a bit shorter, if they don't have cards that they're reading. I think it's really good for some couples, especially if they're, not wanting to share too much personal or more intimate kind of vows in front of their family and friends, or if they're a bit nervous as well, they might do something else, so like write a letter.
Absolutely, yes. And you would photograph that a lot of the time, which would be a very moving moment, I imagine. I totally agree. I love helping my couples. I'm not writing their vows for them. I love helping my couples write personalised vows and encouraging them if they want to, but it isn't for every couple. And whether some couples just want to say something short that their celebrant helps them with, or that they choose from a book or a movie. Even something that's special to them. But the same as you're saying about this letter, couples often do want to share those special words on their wedding day. It doesn't mean they want to stand up and say them in front of everyone. That letter is a gorgeous idea. Or something we spoke about when I came on the podcast at the start of season 2 was couples stepping away from the microphone and having some special whispered words to each other, so they've still thought about them and written them down. But I think sometimes writing them down comes a little bit more freely when there's not the pressure of saying them publicly.
Well, you're being so vulnerable as well. So there's things that you might want to say to your partner that you don't want to say in front of your great-grandmother or your mum.
Absolutely.
So,
I totally agree. And I just think whatever's going to work for the couple, we both do a very different thing at people's weddings, but it's all about what works for the couple and how we can make them the most comfortable on their day. So when it comes to vows, whatever makes you feel best. However, if you're a little bit nervous but think you want personalised vows, I'd always say push yourself if you can. If it's a definite no, don't worry about it. Lots of other options.
So what about some do's and don'ts when writing vows then?
Good question. I guess some of the do's would be what we've already covered. Sit down, figure out length, figure out structure if you like, talk to someone who could help. I also think if it is going to be a surprise to each other on your wedding day, having a third party have a look over the vows.
Oh, absolutely.
To ensure.
Both of them.
I think both sets of vows. Both people's vows. To ensure they have the same vibe, have the same energy, similar length, that can really help the couple feel more calm. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's great. There's nothing worse than mismatched vows.
It's so true. Anything you've heard that you've thought, this is a big don't do this in your vows?
I guess well, there's been like a few. I mean, each their own, but like comparing someone to KFC, maybe not. Maybe not that. But no. Complaining about their partner a little bit in the vows. Like I think there's a right and a wrong and a right way of doing that, or like just being a bit cheeky. Like we had one couple talk about like don't put your beard hairs in the sink, which is so funny. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. But it was done in like such a funny kind of a way, like it was their thing. And yeah, it was really cute. But I think that you can go a bit too far rather than having it being about love and being vulnerable and you know, sharing some promises with each other. You don't want it to just be like all complaining about your partner.
I totally agree. I think you're so right. And with that word vulnerable, it's a big thing to share these words in front of your family and friends with your partner on your day. I think it's a wonderful thing. And those cheeky comments, beard hairs in the sink, they're great.
Yeah.
Always a little fabulous few spots for comic timing and cheeky little nudges, but it isn't a roast.
No.
And it can be quite uncomfortable if it becomes that way.
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I guess you can't prescribe exactly what would work for every couple, but on your wedding day, it would probably be a great idea to think of the things you like about the person you're marrying.
Yeah, absolutely. And why you're marrying them.
And those are such simple tips for how to write your vows. I think when people first think about writing vows, they often sit with me and talk about it. And I'm sure they sit with you as their trusted photographer and talk about it and say, it's such a huge thing. I just have no idea where to start. At the end of the day, you can seriously start by thinking about some positive things about your partner and writing them down, even in dot point form.
Yeah.
Some things you love, things you do together that feel good, things you're looking forward to for your future.
Yeah.
Once you have written those dot points, often, even though you felt nervous to start with, you could look at that and go, oh, wow, I can link these all together. And there is just some beautiful vows.
Yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
I guess that's a bit of a do then, a do on the do list.
Yeah.
Just jot a few things down.
Yeah.
Grab your phone out if you think about it on the run and jot them in your notes
that's
section.
such a good idea too, yeah.
You know, jot it down on a piece of paper if you're at your office or at your, you know, we don't all have a home office because we're not all a photographer or a celebrant, but, you know, if you're at your work or whatever it is you're doing, write down the little bits and pieces because at the end of the day, once you pop those together, you might find you've got great vows.
Yeah. Do people often talk about some of the big moments in their relationships as well in vows sometimes? Like when they first realised that this was the person that they wanted to spend the rest of their life with, or that this was, you know, the time that they fell in love?
I find that they do. It depends on the type of couple and it depends how light they want to keep it and what those instances were.
Yeah.
Some people went on their first holiday, had the time of their life and realised this is the person I want to live every day with.
Yeah.
Some people went through a really hard time and then realised that they got each other through that.
Yeah.
People will go into as little or as much detail as they want about that in their vows. So I think it would depend what people are comfortable to share, but that's a great idea. That's a great thing you could reflect upon. When did I know that this was the right person, you know, for me? And I think on that note as well, which is a bit of a do and a don't, do include what you're comfortable with, but don't include every single thing you're going to say in your speech if you're making a speech.
Absolutely.
I do have couples share that concern with me. I want to say this, but I'm also saying it in my speech.
Yeah.
I think you could – there's a few things you might rehash because they're just so important, so front of the mind, so obvious, but you don't want to do a repeat.
No.
You know, a repeat of your speech for your vows or vice versa. So that is something I will help my couples with, and I'm sure we notice as wedding guests as well. We're both very lucky to have friends and family who have been married, so we've been guests hearing these beautiful things at weddings, and it's nice if there's a different theme for your vows to your speech. So
absolutely.
it might feel hard to separate that and to stop, but it is kind of good to have that discipline and go, okay, I'll save that bit for later and things like that.
So I suppose that's a really good thing about having a speech later is that you can make your speech more fun if you want to, and the vows could potentially be more serious, but it does depend on your vibe as a couple. If you want to have your vows to be more upbeat and fun and light, you can do that as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's That's why it's so hard to sit down and say this is exactly how to write wedding vows, because you're so right. It's about the type of couple you are and the type of celebration you're having.
Yeah.
Your ceremony, your reception, your celebration afterwards will be in a type of theme with a type of energy. Probably the way you decide upon your vows will relate to that directly. And a very romantic, deep, structured, intense ceremony and formal, beautiful, focused reception might lean towards vows that are more serious, very, intense in that way as well. Whereas a wild party ceremony with a wild party celebration after and everyone's, I'll say use the word wild again, but might be a much different energy when you're delivering vows. And it's also, what suits your day. And I think that comes down to what suits you as a couple. A couple are going to have the wedding that best reflects them and that they can best enjoy. And it's the same with the vows. I mean, my couples do say to me, okay, Lauren, we'll figure out a rough length, but please can you tell us a guide? And it's really hard for me to do that. But when I'm really hard pressed, I say you could start with a couple of 100 words. That sounds like so much, but it's really not. It's about 2 short paragraphs.
Yeah.
And from there, people start with that and think, oh, I have so much to say.
Yeah.
And they may go further. But I always, and I don't like to be too prescriptive, but I do think you could start somewhere about that length. And you could, it sounds crazy, but you could watch a few of your favourite cheesy wedding movies, have a look at how long their vows are, because in the cinema, they're doing what they can to capture your attention and keep your attention.
Yeah.
So if you're watching that in the movie and you're invested, and of course the people watching you are invested in you, if that's always about a minute or so here and there, okay, maybe that's a great length for engaging everyone and engaging each other. However, I've had couples that have had 3 printed pages of vows and it's gorgeous because it's them. It's what they've dreamed of doing on their wedding. It's probably had a lot more going into it than just a couple of promises and things that can be helpful.
Yeah.
It's probably been quite an in-depth writing process, more like a letter that they are reading out loud to each other. And that's just as great. It's up to the couple. And the age-old question I get all the time is, who goes first with the vows? Now, you're watching so many weddings through your lens. What do you reckon the answer to that is? What do you notice?
Well, I haven't noticed like any particular kind of structure of who goes first. I think it just comes down to the couple's preference. But I have seen like some cute little traditions and stuff that people do to say like who goes first with the vows. So like there's one where they have a shot of like vodka or tequila, but one's water and one's vodka or tequila.
Yes.
And then whoever gets the alcohol shot has to do the vows. So, but generally what they do, instead of it being one's water and one's alcohol, they're both alcohol.
Oh, I did that. Yes, I did that exact thing to a couple.
So
it
funny.
was so funny. So we just made the guests cheer as to who took the shot better.
Yeah.
And the winner got to go second.
Yeah.
And the loser had to go first.
Yeah.
I like that tradition.
Yeah.
And have you seen the rock, scissors, paper?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's great.
So,
And I think as well, on the day, whoever's up there with the couple, which it might be their celebrant or it might be whoever else is celebrating, it might even be, their wedding party who are up there and giving them a nudge. If someone's really struggling and really nervous, they might just have to go second.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it would probably depend on that as well. But there's definitely no rules. I don't think there's rules, to you?
No, I don't think so. And I think it does come down to how you're feeling and like what you're thinking with who will go first. But I also think about like if one is a crier, if they should go first, just because like I don't know if you would, I think it depends on the person, but if I think about me, if I was a crier, which I'm just definitely not a crier, I would, if I was going to cry, I'd probably cry more at somebody else saying nice things to me than me saying nice things to someone else.
That's actually a really good point. So you would almost, if you would tend to get more outwardly emotional, it could be great to do your vows first so that you can quietly enjoy your crying through your partner's beautiful vows rather than rather than wait.
Yeah.
Listen to your partner's beautiful vows and then almost not be able to collect yourself enough to say your own. That's so true. That's actually a really good point. That's a great idea. So whoever's the more emo, maybe just get it out of the way first so that you can actually manage the rest of your ceremony and enjoy what your partner's saying to you.
But if you're both really emotional, you can just both be a blubbering mess throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. And you can do it together.
Yeah.
You're right up there.
Yeah.
About, I don't know if you've got any tips probably for, especially for behind the camera, but for helping couples feel less nervous and less worried, I do just try and chat to my couples and say, number one, I'm right here with you. There is nothing that can go wrong because if you are so worried or nervous that you pass out on the ground, I promise I'll pick your vows up and read them to your partner for you. Yeah. Things like that. Nothing's ever, you've got a team of professionals with you on the day. Nothing's ever going to be so major that you can't go ahead with part of the ceremony because someone can always step in and help. Yeah. I think as well, when you read your vows, it doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah. You might stumble over a few words. You might cry. You might cough. Yeah. You might say a funny word. Sometimes it happens in the legal vows where someone's meant to say lawful and they say awful, which is always good for a bit of a lull. But, those things are actually fine. Your wedding day is a beautifully structured day that you've worked really hard on, but you are a human being at the end of the day and that's being celebrated at the same time. So I think that's a really good point, that it's okay if you've made all this effort to write the beautiful vows. When you deliver them, it's just in a really human way. So maybe that helps the nerves a bit. Yeah. And I suppose, I don't know, any other tips or tricks for helping the nerves?
Sometimes the celebrant holds the microphone so they can
always hold the microphone.
So they can hold the card in front of them
for a bit
and just
of stability,
focus. Yeah, so I think if they have their hands on both hands on the card, they're not as nervous because they're doing something as well as talking.
That's a great point. Yeah. I totally agree. I always hold the mic because I'm focused on holding it properly. Yeah. When people are pouring out their heart to each other, they might drop the mic a little bit and then you get that really fading in and out.
Yeah. Especially if they're crying, because I'll just put it by their side and have a little cry and then come back, because they don't also want to hear themselves crying.
Exactly. Yeah. So it might be better. I agree with that. If you are nervous, maybe talk to your celebrant and ensure they will hold the mic. Yeah. It's something I find works really well. And I think that, focusing on the fact that you're saying those words to the person that you love the most and that you are the most comfortable with is a good focus. Yes, technically you're speaking in front of a big crowd at your wedding, but you're saying it to that one person. So you could kind of think about that as a helpful
look into their eyes.
Tip. Exactly. I mean, it sounds hilarious, a bit of a cliche, but I think those things could work to make people a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's the one moment too where you can just look into each other's eyes. You don't need to look at anybody else within, your guest group. You don't need to look at your mum or your grandma or, your grandfather. You don't need to look at somebody that's going to make you feel a little bit more emotional or see them being a blubbering mess as well. And I think it's just good to stand there and look into the eyes of whoever is standing in front of you and is your pillar of strength.
Such a great way to put it. I totally agree. So I guess we've talked about, it's so specific to the couple. Yeah. But I guess what we could do right now in a really quick way to see what suits different people is maybe we could do a quick on-the-spot friendship vow to each other.
Oh, okay.
So I guess if I was going to, off the top of my head, do a friendship vow to you, Dana, I think I would start with how I felt when we first met.
Okay.
As a bit of a memory of you, how you make me feel as a friend, and then what I look forward to as our friendship kind of grows and goes forward.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So there's a bit of a how to write your own friendship vows. So I would say something like, Dana, I remember knowing about you before we first met. I remember seeing your fantastic social media and thinking your photos were gorgeous, and you and Doug were so connected in the photos that you'd posted of yourself. And then when I finally got to meet you face to face at a wedding expo for the first time, I came straight up to you, I think gave you a big hug. And even though I said, I've been waiting so long to meet you, and gushed over you probably in a creepy way, you just welcomed me with open arms. You were so calm and warm. And I do really remember that feeling from the first time I met you. Oh. And I have to say, being your friend now, that feeling is so real and authentic to you. You're very welcoming even when your friends show up to your house on the wrong Monday when there is no podcast and bash your door down at 9 a.m. I think you show kindness and understanding to lots of different people. I think you really embrace all the different bits of me, and I appreciate that as a friend. And I look forward to our future friendship because we keep having more fun the more we get to know each other and the more we let our guard down. So I can just see that fun side of your personality that I can now prod out of you and be a bit more cheeky with you. We can kind of let loose a bit more and see where it takes us and just keep up with the great chats.
This is where it's like awkward because you're like,
I'm the good person in the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm the Dana and now you're the dud.
I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm the dud.
No. Do you know what? I do talk a lot, and I did say give me a quick friendship vow, and then I talked your ear off for 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was like the 3 pages.
I'm so sorry. I'm the 3-page couple.
The 3 pages.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My celebrant wouldn't be happy with me.
And then mine would be like the 1 page. So I'm like.
This would be the one-liner.
You know, when you get the couples that are like, the girl's like, on and on and on and on. And then there's the guy that's like, yeah, this.
Love you. You're great. High five.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd be happy with that from you.
Yes. Okay, so friendship vows for you, Lauren. So we talked about how we met and then feelings in the friendship and where the friendship is going or the future of the friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is so hard. You're like so fluent. I'm gonna put this down to all of your practice with helping your couples.
Yes, I have to say I do have an unfair advantage. If I had to take a photo of you right now, it would be shocking. So, let's think about it that way.
Okay, sure. So if I think about the first time I met you, Lauren, at the Love, Cherish, Adore wedding fair, which was amazing, I just remember feeling absolutely bowled over, but in the best way, by your love, enthusiasm, and energy. Like nothing more positive, I think, could have come out of your pores that day. So, yeah, and just being like enveloped in this love and gratitude. And I feel like all of that has like come into our friendship as well. But I think that if I think back on the first day that we did actually meet, the inclusivity that you had, the way that you treated not just me and Doug, but everybody else that was there, I know that I felt like your new best friend, and I'm sure that everybody else felt that way as well. But I think that you just bring this really fresh energy, and I just really appreciate about you that you do just love on everybody that you meet, and you are so genuine and lovely to anybody, and you have all the time in the world for them. And I'm so looking forward to spending more time with you, and that you will uncover more of my fun personality that you mentioned earlier.
I love it.
Yes, but I think that you will really love extroverted Dana.
I'm ready for her. Hit me.
I'm just so looking forward to the times that we have in the future, and growing our friendship through thick and thin. I think that we're going to be really good friends.
I love it. So there you have it.
Yes,
I'm going to be the crier because I'm the teary one. So it's good I went first, taking our own advice.
Yes.
Now I'm recovering. But look, I have to say thank you for your kind words. And that is such a really quick way, even that simple structure we've just used with each other, it just shows how easy it is. Look, saying those kind things to each other can sometimes be difficult because it's not what we do every day.
Yeah.
Same as couples getting married. But just a structure with 3 parts that we came up with on the spot, I think worked really well to say some kind things about each other and to give a nod to a special moment clearly in our life, recording a podcast.
Yes.
But, even if it were just the way we've used that structure with each other that someone can pick up and use for their wedding day, I still think that is great. That's how simple it can be.
Mm-hmm. I think it might have been a lot better as well if I'd written mine down and then like read from it as well. Like I think that would have really helped me because I was like thinking about what I wanted to say and then thinking about how to articulate it. And then I think you can kind of get off on a bit of a tangent. So I think it's really important too to add that you like don't go off of your script.
Yes. Focus on what you've written. There are a very few people I've been a celebrant for 8 years and there have been a few people who have wanted to speak from the heart during their vows. And I have to say it's worked beautifully on those times.
Oh, that's so good, yeah.
However, you need to be so comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it did go a bit tangenty, but it was a wedding, so it was quite gorgeous. But I agree, if we had have sat there, used that structure we spoke about and written it down, we may have felt a little more calm and maybe felt a little more present while we read vows to each other. And that's a really good tip for couples. Reading your vows and having them written down is going to allow you to be more present because your brain's not scrambling to think of the next item.
Yeah.
And even in a practical sense, when I say write them down, obviously I also think typing them is a great idea because it's a calmer way for your brain to focus on the words that are coming out, but also it's a really easy way to change things. And then really practical things like I print all my vows for my couples and I think you can ask your celebrant that. But if not, you can print your vows but think of the size of the font. A larger, clear font is going to be easier to read for your wedding vows. It's going to mean you don't lose your place as easily if you're emotional. It's just quite simple. It probably looks crazy to yourself opening up a piece of paper or a little booklet that's got size 20 font with 10 spaces a page. But it really might help you stay in the moment because the words just jump off at you, are really easy to say to your partner. And I totally agree, again, to reiterate, writing them down will probably help you focus more than our little project we just did there between each other.
Yes. Well, now everybody's shared that moment with us as well.
I know. See, we've been vulnerable.
Yeah, we have been in front of like our whole audience.
If we can do it and it got recorded, you can do it on your wedding day.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, it's been great talking all things personalised wedding vows
I've loved
with
it.
Lauren the Celebrant. There'll be a link to her socials and website in the show notes. And we've also been speaking with myself, Dana, from Will & Co Photography, and our link will also be in the show notes as well if you want to find out any more information about Lauren or myself and stalk the crap out of us.
And figure out why we love each other so much. It's worth a look.
Yes.
That was fab, Dana. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's been good. If you've really enjoyed this question and answer time about personalised wedding vows, we would love to hear from you. You can let us know on our Instagram if you would like us to talk about anything specific. Just DM us, or you can also contact us on our email and that will be in the show notes.